Let's
Good
go.
morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitchline Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. I am here with Donald and Robinho. And I think we need to start with a little bit of a positive direction. And I want to get into off the cuff. I want to go right into Luis Hill winning the Rookie of the Year. I talked about it a little bit with everybody on the After Dark show. Appreciate everybody that hung out with me that night. But when you think of all the question marks that have always surrounded the Yankees rotation and the depth of it, I think when you have Garrett Cole, Rodon, who didn't have his best year, but he had a healthy year, I think we'll take that for what it's worth. And then when you have a guy like Luis Hill that, 29 starts, solid ERA, a shaky inning here or there, that baseball really saw his value, and the Yankees see his value by having him as a staple in this rotation, earning him the Rookie of the Year. And it's a tremendous accomplishment for him. Only one person can get it, just like a lot of the awards. But the fact that Luis Hill's grind for a season that did have some question marks surrounding him was able to come out on top and win the Rookie of the Year, I think is tremendous. But I've already mentioned my part of it the other night, so I want to throw it to Rob and what this means going forward for Luis Hill, his career, and his cementing himself into the rotation.
Well, big congratulations to him, first of all, because we were very high on him. Way back in the early days of this show, we were talking about Luis Hill, and unfortunately, the injuries that piled up after his rookie year kind of took him out of the equation for a little bit, but he came right back and didn't really miss a beat. There was all those question marks about, the innings are going to tear him up at the end of that season. He was set up for failure, according to some people, and he shut all those people up and put together a fantastic season. And like Donald mentioned the other day, he kept the rotation afloat because without him having the season he did, the season may not have gone as smooth, at least in the first half, without Garrett Cole. And he made it easy to not sign one of those guys. Remember when Cole got hurt, we're like, you got to go trade for Cease, you got to go sign Snell, get somebody. You can't go into the season without Garrett Cole. And Luis Hill was just like, no, I got it. And he had it because for the first half of that season, he looked like the easy choice for Cy Young. He was robbed of an All-Star vote, and he put together quite the phenomenal rookie campaign. So I'm very happy for him. And absolutely, Brad, he has cemented at least a 3 spot in that rotation moving forward. There should be no more questions about whether this guy is going to be in the bullpen. There should be no conversations about moving him to another team to sell high or some. I've seen that around. No, this guy is going to be in the rotation for years to come. He's got the stuff to be elite, and he already showed that this year that he can be damn good. And it's just the start of hopefully what's a very good career for the kid. But I couldn't be more happy for him and excited for what's to come for him moving forward. Just knowing that Garrett Cole's still going to be around to learn from is a huge boost to this guy. So I'm excited to see what's next, but this is a hell of a first step. Finally had a full, healthy season and passed it with flying colors. So I'm very, very excited to see what's going on, or what is to come for Luis Hill moving forward.
Donald, the floor is yours.
My guy did it. I'm happy, man. If anybody knows me, I've been a huge supporter of Luis Hill. I said at the start of the year that he should be in the rotation, and people came at me. I was like, trust that this guy has elite stuff. He just needs to work on his location. And boy, did he. I've always said that he should be in the rotation. I always believed that he had some extremely high upside. His fastball slider combo is really, really good. He has a nice mix of pitches, and he's electric on the mound, and he's got that moxie on the mound, which is needed. I'm sorry, especially in a market like New York, you need to have the balls to be like, give me the ball, I can pitch. He's one of those guys. Excellent season, much deserved Rookie of the Year. Look what he did in the month of June, everybody. Look what he did in the month of June. Look what he did in the month of May. In the month of May, here's something crazy. In the entire month of May, he was 6-0 with a 0.70 ERA. 6-0 with a 0.70 ERA. That's what Rob means, and that's what I mean by the fact that he carried this rotation until Garrett Cole could come back. There is no postseason without Luis Gil doing what he did in the month of May and the month of June and the month of July. With that period, there is no postseason to speak of. That's how important he was. Look what he did. Faced Baltimore, 6 1/3 innings, 2 hits, shutout. Went to Houston, 6 innings, just 1 run given up. Tampa Bay, shutout. Chicago White Sox, 1 run. Seattle, shutout. Angels, just 1 run. Minnesota, shutout. That's what he did. Tampa Bay shutout. I mean, and then he had that 14 strikeout game against the White Sox. Um, in May, he had 44 strikeouts in just 38 innings. Just let's see, just 12 walks. 44 strikeouts and 12 walks in the month of May. The fact he didn't make an All-Star appearance is a joke, because in July he had a 3.33 ERA. So I mean, there was no argument to say that he didn't deserve to make the All Star team. But I'm very glad that he got the recognition he deserved, because he was electric out there, man. I mean, what I just read out in May is historic. Um, and in July he was particularly good as well. He went 6 2/3 innings against Boston Red Sox and gave up just 1 run. Baltimore again shut them down. The Mets, absolute monster team. You only gave it 1 run. So he deserves all the credit in the world. All those quality starts for a rookie, this is absolutely immense. So a big shout out to Luis Gil, man. He's a special kid. He's worked extremely hard to overcome those injuries from the season prior to become one of the best pitchers in baseball for the first half of the year. Now, it did tail off second half. Yeah, that's fine. But, I mean, he's still young, and he's not used to those kind of innings. So it's not really a surprise. But, yeah, let's just give a big salute to Luis Gil. Very happy for him and his family. Salute to Luis.
Yeah, and Ken and Brad, they don't get the pick because he wasn't a top 100 prospect. That's how the rules work. It's picky, it's tricky. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but yeah, it doesn't go to Luis. We don't get the pick because he wasn't a top 100 prospect. Had Cowser won it, the Orioles would have got the pick, but because Gil wasn't top 100, we don't get it. The Pirates don't even get it.
I think that's bullshit. I think it's really weird. Shouldn't you actually get more for the fact that you actually managed to find a prospect outside the top 100 and you've developed him into a rookie of the year? Shouldn't you get more credit for that?
Right? I mean, I guess, but at the same time, it's interesting that he still qualifies to be a rookie considering he pitched in the 2021 season. So I don't know, but it's for the whole PPI thing is for top 100 picks. So it gives teams an incentive to use their guys that are ranked in the top 100. But Skeens, they don't get it. The Pirates don't get it for Paul Skeens because they didn't call him up at a certain time. It's a stupid rule. It's supposed to incentivize teams, but they made it so annoying that it doesn't really help anybody. But had Cowser won it, the Orioles would have gotten it twice in a row.
Yeah, but I think I know Skeens got the extra year of service time. Is Gil in that same class for that? That I don't know. That'd be interesting if we're able to get the extra year of service time on Luis Gil for the Rookie of the Year win. But yeah, I don't know if it's because he had the innings the year prior. But no, Luis Gil had a tremendous. Rob alluded to it. Donald, put an exclamation point on it. Without Luis Gil in the beginning of the year, while we were waiting for Cole to return, then he's one of the key reasons why the Yankees had the start of the season that they did. he was an anchor in that rotation, and that's coming in when you're going to be the guy to lean on with Rodon to keep the Yankees, in a winning situation while you wait for your superstar ace. That's a tremendous task to ask anybody. Never mind somebody as young as Luis Gil in his career. And he rose to the occasion. A couple of bad starts by the course of the All-Star game, which, we could all debate if it was bullshit or not. I think it was. But, it's neither here nor there at that point. But I think one thing that the three of us can agree on is that we do have a fire chat going on, and we appreciate everybody that is hanging out with us. If you haven't already, hit that like button. And I'm going to toss it to Donald for his famous roll call.
Right, everybody, it's mandatory. Hit that like button. Hit that like button for our guys here. It really helps the algorithm and building this channel. So everybody hit that like button, and everybody, if you can, share it out on Twitter, share it out on Facebook, share it out in your groups, whatever. Share it out to your friends or family. Where Uncle Tad says, the stranger in the corner. Whatever it takes, let's get this thing building. We've gained like 100 subbies over the last couple of weeks, so it's been growing exponentially. So let's continue that. We would love to have the 1K mark get hit in the next couple of weeks. That would be really, really cool. So let's continue to do that. As Regil the Great says, slap that like, pay the plug, my man. And I'm loving all the new memberships, by the way. So can I also take a special time to everyone who became a member, because you guys are the GOATs. Every single one of you. Brad, Dev, Regil, Ken, all you other guys that joined. You guys are all the GOATs. John the Beagle Dad, absolutely. So let's say a special hello to everyone in the chat. We're climbing. It's climbing by the minute. So let's start with what we can see here. We got Jonathan. Salute to Jonathan. Always early. I love the Jonathan. He's always the first poster, man. He's always the first guy. He's always saying good morning. So good morning to you, Jonathan. We got Stevie B. We got Jacob Petruzzi. What up, fam? We got Fortrain. Salute. We got Stevie B. We got, as I say, John the Beagle Dad and the usual suspects, FJ. We got LOL Meets. Yo, AOG. Good morning, AOG. We got Lou, my man Lou. Good to see Lou in the chat. We got Brad, Finch, FJ, Frederick, and we got Joe Coelho. Got Sean Browning. We got Medina. What up, Medina? Good to see you, man. Big salute to everybody in the chat. Hit the like, hit the subby.
And after with now, I think we have a solid 1, 2, 3 in the rotation. Does that lessen the urgency to go find a pitcher on the starting in the free agent market, or can you have or is our 4-5 starter already on the roster? Is Poteet a potential number 5? Where do we see the rest of the rotation rounding out? I think it's safe to say that a guy like Cortez and Stroman are going to be shopped. Whether a team takes them or not is good. That's a story for another day. But right now we do have, and you also have Schmidt. I don't want to keep forgetting Schmidt. So really, there's one starter spot left in this rotation for next year. So does that give the financial flexibility for other free agency needs? And the pitching is really less of a priority than some may have thought. Rob?
That's what I said the other day. They don't have to go get a starter.
Yeah.
It's not priority one. We already know what that is.
Yeah.
We don't need to keep talking about that. Second priority is a first baseman, and then it's the bullpen. You can argue the bullpen's more of a priority, but they don't have a first baseman right now, so that needs to be priority number 2 outside of Soto. The rotation, if they went into the season with Cole, Rodon, Heel, Schmidt, Nestor, you can do a lot worse than that. However, you can go the cheaper route with trades, and obviously Roki Sasaki would be the prize of the free agent class, in my opinion, for $800,000 on the payroll. If you can get that kid, you get that kid, and you don't need to do anything else with that rotation. It's stacked, it's ready to roll into the season. But I feel like if they're going to add to the rotation from a start, that's a possibility, FJ. The Yankees like Bieber. Bieber likes Blake. It would be a good match to try. It would be kind of like when they got Kluber a few years ago to get him on a 1-year deal, try to stay healthy.
And injured him within a week and a half.
Yeah, well, that no-hitter kind of screwed him. Him throwing that no-hitter really screwed his season because he was pitching great before that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to sign a big free agent unless they miss out on Soto. So I think if they add to the rotation, it would be Sasaki, a guy like Bieber that won't cost you too much on a prove-it deal, or it's a trade for a guy that doesn't make as much. Like, who is this year's Dylan Cease that you can get for multiple years of control that won't cost you too much on the payroll? But honestly, unless they shop both Nestor and Stroman, then I don't see them really going crazy on the rotation. So I think they're going to try to get rid of Stroman, but they might hold on to Nestor unless they're blown away with the trade offer. Because, again, even as a number 5 starter, those numbers are perfectly fine. You're going to get quality starts here and there. He's going to give you an ERA in the low 3s, high 3s, low 4s, and you'll take that from a number 5. Plus, it's always good to have 2 lefties. You can't really go wrong with that if that's your 5th starter, but if you can get Sasaki, then by all means, go get Roki Sasaki. If you want to go sign Corbin Burns, I ain't going to tell you don't do it. So if you want Corbin Burns, go get Corbin Burns. So they can certainly do whatever the hell they want, but they don't have to, and I think that's a luxury going into this offseason that they can focus on Soto, first base, bullpen.
No, I think, the one guy I think would really fit in and would help out because of the pitching depth. What about, a guy like a Max Fried who's had a little bit of an injury history building up, but when he's healthy, he is extremely effective. And coming from an East division that's also extremely competitive, I think he would fit in really well with this rotation in the AL East. So I think that would be a really good transition for him, and not having to be the guy. Because I don't think he's you're not going to be signing him to be a 1, 2, or 3. We already have it. You're signing him to be your 4.
Are you kidding? He's much better than that. He's much better than that. He's much better than a 4. He's a 2. At worst.
He's fantastic. Like you said, at full strength, the dude is very, very good. He's gonna get Rodon money. If not, he'll be right below what Rodon got. Like, Rodon's contract set the market for those kind of pitchers. So he's a stud. He's an absolute stud. It's
fourth starter, bro. Like, what kind of 4 starters have you been seeing? Maybe on the All-Star team. In 2023, he had a 2.55 ERA. 2022, he had a 2.48 ERA. 2001, he had a 3 ERA. 2020, he had a 2 ERA. 2018, he had a 2 ERA.
All right.
2024, 3.5 ERA. Holy crap.
Fried is not a number 4 starter.
73
I'm trying to give you a little respectful to Rodon for what he did last year.
Fuck that. 863 strikeouts so far. I'm telling you, Max Fried is elite. He's an ace. He's a number 2 starter. Don't have to worry about Rodon's feelings. He's not on this panel.
So who? All right. So say let's take the hypothetical. Fried is signed. So your rotation, and I would be comfortable with this. Now I know he's a 2. All right. I was trying to be respectful to Rodon that's already here. All right, let's not get confused there. All right, that's my take on it, and I stand by it. I said what I said. But if you have your rotation of Cole, Fried, Heel, Rodon, Schmidt, so is now Rodon your 4 guy? Because you're not going to keep pushing, or is your rookie of the year your number 4?
I'd push Rodon to 4, honestly.
Okay.
Because you got to separate the lefties. Not a lot of teams like going lefty-lefty, but Fried's stuff at this point is better than Rodon. But they could go, like AOG saying, they could go Rodon 3. I just don't like having back-to-back lefties because most of the time you have 2 max in the rotation. So you kind of want to separate that a little bit. But they're both really good when they're both pitching at their highest level. Rodon and Fried are can be two of the better left-handed pitchers in the sport. So to have that going back-to-back would be great. But I would like to separate them a little bit. And Ken, I don't want to trade Luis Heel for anybody. I mean, not for anybody. If they can get Scooble, obviously. But I wouldn't pull the trigger on that trade because Helsley's a rental. If you can put more prospects in place of Heel, like I'd be more comfortable trading Schmidt right now than I would Heel. Because Schmidt's got like I think 2 or 3 years left, where Heel you have like another 5 years of control.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't move Heel for anything right now. Not after the season he just gave you. Yeah, the value may be high, but I'm always very hesitant to move on from pitching depth. You know, the only ones I would move would be Stroman and Cortez because I think as much as Stroman helped us, you know, with his first half numbers, he was almost non-existent in the second half. They didn't even trust him to throw a pitch in the postseason. So Stroman is he's the odd man out, and Cortez, you know, as good as he could be, is waiting for that good stretch. I don't think the Yankees can afford to have that type of gamble in their rotation. Donald, what do you think?
I mean, I completely agree that we only need one starter, and I think that Stroman will possibly be used as trade bait. If we could get rid of that salary and then you put that towards a better arm, then that's a no-brainer, really. I think that Nestor Cortez could be available in the right deal. So just to echo what Rob says right there, I think he's spot on. But at worst, you keep a hold of him, and he's a solid fifth starter. You could do a hell of a lot worse than a high 3, low 4 ERA for a Nestor Cortez. But I was completely with Uncle Tats there. Max Fried's one of my favorite pitchers in baseball. He has been for a number of years now. He's still kind of almost underrated in many ways. Like he isn't looked upon in the stratosphere of maybe a Scooble or even a Garrett Cole or whatever. But if you look at his numbers, holy crap, he is electric. He is elite. He's a proper number 2. So I would definitely go all in on him. I would consider Flaherty, who we should have gotten at the trade deadline, and absolutely Sasaki. If you can get Sasaki, then absolutely you can go all in on that too. So you can't have enough pitching, right? Especially not in the modern year. You can't have enough pitching, and I think it would be a no-brainer. Clark Schmidt is really good. I like Clark Schmidt. I keep a hold of him. I'm just not sure whether he really tops up as anything higher than a 3 because he doesn't have a third pitch. He doesn't have a consistent third pitch, I say. He's very much a 2-pitch guy, and that's the same problem that Rodon has. And that's why Rodon will never be a number 2 pitcher because people are sitting fastball or slider on Rodon because they know he only throws one or the other. And that's why for the same reason that Tommy Kahnle shouldn't be used as a closer or an 8th inning guy because he only throws one pitch, and that's a changeup. You can't really rely on that to get elite guys out. So for me, I think Max Fried should be seriously considered, although I would be surprised if the Yankees get in those waters with the Juan Soto negotiations. But all things being equal, I would love the Yankees to get another quality starter because Rodon really, he ain't that guy. I think he's really good, but I think there's a ceiling with him. You saw it in the World Series; he crumbled, and I'm sorry, Max Fried doesn't crumble. He's won a World Series, so he's good, man. And Jack Flaherty just won a World Series with the Dodgers, so I quite like guys that don't crumble in October. So that's what I'm thinking here. I think get me one more starter, but I think most likely it'll just be as it is. I think it'll be as it is. I don't think we attack starter. I think that we will attack the absolute musts, which is the corner infield spots, and rebuild the bullpen in its entirety. I think that's probably more likely. But, and we'll get into this eventually in this pod, but Soto, as part of the negotiations, said to Hal, they need to seriously upgrade. So what that involves, I don't know, but he made it very, very clear that regardless of what money is he's getting paid, they need to upgrade that roster. He was very clear about that. So does that involve starting pitching? I hope so.
It could it could mean a lot of things for all we know. It could mean fundamentally or internally changing some stuff around because if there's anybody that understands the game of baseball, it'd be Juan Soto. So if and you're seeing it all over the place. Every single Dodgers player, even the ones that didn't play in the World Series, are still to this day making fun of the Yankees for that fifth inning. And that's got to be sticking into these Yankees players' minds, and it should hopefully be going to in the front office, hopefully hearing it and saying maybe we should change some stuff around. But Sean, look, Mo is in a different category than anybody else. The Mo's cutter is probably the greatest pitch. Could be the greatest pitch ever. We ain't comparing Tommy Kahnle's changeup to Mariano Rivera's cutter. Let's not do that. Let's leave Mo at. We're talking about bullpen arms. You leave that guy out of the conversation. He's the greatest ever, and no one's ever going to be that good again. But in terms of like upgrading the roster, I would spend, like I said before, I would spend heavily on the bullpen this year, and I don't like doing that, but you have to. You absolutely have to. And there's some good arms out there. So, like, again, with the money they could clear from non-tendering guys, and if they trade Stroman and one of Stroman and Cortez, you can sign two high-end bullpen arms. Like Estevez and Scott could be signed, along with Soto, and a trade for a guy like Nate Lowe. That's all possible with the finances still getting you under 301. It's surprising, but you can get creative, clear some money, and get under that 301 and still make significant upgrades to this team. That's why if the Yankees decided, unless it's Sasaki or a guy like one of those Mariners pitchers that's not going to cost you that much on the payroll, we're not going to go with the rotation upgrade. Instead, we're going to spend heavily on the bullpen and upgrading the offense and the internal change they need to make. I'm signing up for that. I would love Max Fried. I would love Corbin Burns. I would love Jack Flaherty. But to me, those aren't necessarily needs. They're more of a luxury signing. The needs are obviously first base, the bullpen, and of course, number 22. That should go without saying. But to me, rotation is like on the bottom of the list of things that need to be upgraded.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at the pitching staff, I think the bullpen might need some adjustments. But I think the starting pitching, I think what we have in the organization is sustainable. Is it elite? Could be. We have to see a little more. But Donald, I saw you put a star on AOG's comments. I'm going to let you bring that up and give you a take on it.
We lost the World Series because of the game 2 and 3 performance of Schmidt and Rodon. They aren't high-end playoff starters. I mean, that's right. I mean, there's no argument there. It's not to say that I don't really like Clark Schmidt, and it's not to say that I didn't think Rodon had a really good postseason leading up to the World Series, but in the brightest lights, they struggled. And for that reason that I gave, you can argue all you want, Sean or whoever, that they don't consistently, but it's true, they don't consistently have a third pitch. They have a third pitch, they don't consistently use it or trust it to get outs consistently. So they tend to go back to their trusted top 2 pitches, right? And for me, I think they aren't number 2 starters. And after Garrett Cole, there was a big drop off. And as much as I love Luis Gil, and I'm so happy he won Rookie of the Year, I mean, he wasn't trusted in the postseason. The Yankees barely used him, really, and then they used him in the World Series. And that was an awful lot to ask of the kid. And he was tired, let's be honest, after pitching more innings than he's ever had in his life. So the Yankees did actually need another starter in there. And that it is a part of it. It is absolutely a part of the issue here. Luis Gil's much higher upside than Clark Schmidt, There's no question there. Got much better stuff. I think that Schmidt might have a higher floor than Luis Gil. I think Luis Gil is kind of a guy where uh, his ceiling is higher, but also his floor is a little lower because he can lose the strike zone. When he loses the strike zone, things kind of compound with him a little bit. But we didn't really see it that much this year. It was on only a couple of starts at the most. So really, I think the Yankees do actually need another starter. I think one more arm would be great. But to Tad's point, they need to entirely rebuild this bullpen. Like rebuild it. Like it needs rebuilt. I can't stress that enough because that bullpen is part of the reason why the Yankees sucked in the World Series. Just didn't have enough arms that they trusted, and they had Weaver, but they were overusing Weaver. And I'm just so happy that it'll be the end of he who should not be named. I will never name him again. For the grace of God.
Yeah, and Sean Scott is definitely an option. Rob, what do you think?
Well, I like what AOG said here because he's right. Another start, like I said earlier, if they got Corbin Burns, I'm not going to sit here and complain. That'd be so stupid of me to be like, how could you go get the second best pitcher in baseball last year? Like, how can you go do that? Oh, damn you, Brian Cashman, fire him. But no, if they went and got a starter, I wouldn't complain. I'm just saying in terms of what the biggest needs are, I would rather upgrade that bullpen. Shut up, Li, because you thought that Luis Gil was set up for failure by going into the rotation, so I don't want to hear it. I don't think they need to go crazy with the bullpen entirely because you still have Weaver. You can bring back Leiter on the cheap, who was good in the postseason. Hamilton, when healthy, can be trusted. It's not like they don't have arms. Jake Cousins was fantastic last year. You can keep him around. So it's not like they don't have anybody. But if they got like 3 really good arms to add to this bullpen, then it's going to be elite, in my opinion. Tanner Scott, Carlos Estevez, Luke Weaver as your 7, 8, 9. That's like a dream right there. And you absolutely have the finances to go make that happen. So that would be completely rebuilding anything, but it would be making necessary additions to the team. So I don't think you need to do it entirely. They're not going to sign 7 new bullpen arms.
No.
2 or 3 max, and your bullpen's going to be just fine because that turns guys like Leiter and Poteet into middle relief, long relief kind of guys, or Poteet would be your long relief guy. Leiter can take the middle innings, if anything. And Hamilton, with good stuff, can be like a 5th or 6th inning guy.
He just gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, he just needs to stay healthy. But they're always so good at finding every year one arm that comes out of nowhere and pitches well. Jake Cousins, for example. Tim Hill could come back on the cheap and be another lefty option that can get you out. So they can go get some of those cheaper arms, but they should absolutely spend big on at least one bullpen guy. At least one, but I would prefer 2.
I thought Tim Hill was already declared, the Yankees already brought him back. Didn't they pick up his option or something?
He didn't have an option. He's a free agent. There's mutual interest.
Okay. Oh, is that what I saw his name in a one of the ticket things the other day.
The Yankees need to go all in on a reliever that hits triple digits consistently. And if you pair that with Luke Weaver at the high end part of our bullpen, that changes the situation completely. And towards the end of games, they need some strikeout guys, man. They need a guy that is feared, that's going to come in, that can throw rockets and mount up strikeouts because there was far too much contact out of our bullpen. I don't know who was planning that, if that was a Brian Cashman thing or a Matt Blake thing, because Matt Blake loves his sinkers and cutters and blah-de-blah-de-blah. Whoever made that decision to go all in on contact, you need to really reevaluate things here because in the postseason, it's absolutely vital that you take the pressure off our infield defense, our malfunctioning infield defense. You needed to get some strikeouts in there. And that's one thing that really infuriates me is that they had that opportunity at the trade deadline. Multiple arms were available that were big time strikeout guys that could take the pressure off our malfunctioning infield defense and would have stood us in a better chance of getting us to winning a World Series. And Brian Cashman allowed them all to go to the Dodgers. So I mean, he is just as complicit in this, and he needs to make up for it this offseason. He does. Real talk.
Yeah, I still have faith in Weaver that he can, kind of mold himself into a legitimate closer. He was used a lot this year because there was really nobody else. Well, I don't say there's nobody else. I mean, they had a lot of options in the pen, but they showed a lot of confidence with Weaver coming in and closing games, going to just pretty much putting it all out on the field at the end of the season. Knowing that there was no other series, I think he's the only player that they really use with sense of urgency. And he rose to the occasion. So I don't think you need to go all in and overpay for a closer. I just think, but I do agree with Donald. I think they really do need to focus more on strikeout pitching. I think that was something that really held this bullpen back from being one of the elite bullpens. Too much contact.
In many ways, it held our rotation back as well because we didn't have enough of that in the rotation either. That's why I was really championing Luis Gil.
Well, luckily, Scott and Estevez throw heat, and that's exactly what we can use. Jeff Hoffman's another guy that can come in here and be really good. So the bullpen free agent list this year is really good. I just don't want them to bring back a certain somebody.
Can you share it? If you get the screen up, let's share it and let's have a look at it just for fun.
If I can get it on my phone here, I'll definitely read out the list. But I know for a fact that
is it on MLB.com?
It should be.
Yeah, let's get that up just for shits and giggles. Let's have a look at the.
I can look right. I got the page here, so we
got down every free agent in 5 years.
Yeah, Tanner Scott leads the list there, obviously 4.5 WAR. Jeff Hoffman, 32 years old, 3.6 WAR. David Robertson still chugging along at 40. We're not talking about the next two on that list. Kenley Jansen, no. Chris Martin, no. Estevez, I would definitely bring in. It kind of drops off a little bit, but Leclerc could be an option. Kirby Yates even has pitched really well. Yimi Garcia. But really, it's like the top two of the top 3 in that list where you can really spend and upgrade this bullpen. Scott, Hoffman, and Estevez would be my top 3 choices.
Oh, I would love Estevez. Yeah, I think those 3. If you're able to get one of those 3, I think the Yankees are in a much better situation. 2 of the 3, holy crap!
What do you think Carlos Estevez would request on the marketplace?
Well, if you look at Spot Track, a lot of the market value it's not always correct because they have Soto at like a 36 million market value, but I think it's around like 14 million for him, and Scott's around like the 15, 16 million mark. The Josh Hader contract kind of set the market for these arms, and I don't think anyone's gonna get that money, but I think it's entirely possible that if you got Scott for like 15 a year and Estevez for maybe like 13 a year, that total money would be enough to get you a starting pitcher. So I really feel like if they got 2 elite bullpen arms, because you got to remember Weaver's a free agent after the season, and he's going to cost you a lot to keep around. So this could be a contingency plan in case Weaver fizzles out this year, and you would still have 2 really good arms in your back pocket.
In 2024, you had a 2.45 ERA with 26 saves, and let's see how many strikeouts because they were pretty significant. Yeah, 50 strikeouts altogether. He was very good in Philadelphia. I really liked that move actually for them. I thought that was a really good trade for them. Got a 2.57 ERA out of his time over there in Philly, and 6 saves in 8 opportunities. So I think Estevez would be an amazing pickup.
I wanted him at the deadline. I was talking about him a lot because the Yankees and Angels should have been trade partners because they had an infielder we needed, they had a bullpen arm we needed. I wanted Tanner Scott. That's all we kept talking about was making bullpen additions, really, and maybe an infielder. Maybe Yzma can pitch out of the bullpen. That monster knocking Tats' setup all over the place. But yeah, the fact of the matter is they can afford to add two of these arms on top of Juan Soto and still getting a good first baseman via trades. It's all possible. Don't let anyone tell you it's not, because it is. They just have to get creative and create some financial flexibility, which they can by moving some guys and non-tendering some guys. It's all possible. And this is the offseason for Cashman. He has to go all out. If they're going to make that promise to Juan Soto to keep him around, you better keep that freaking promise, because you didn't keep that promise to Aaron Judge, or at least the year you signed him, you didn't keep that promise to Aaron Judge. You have to keep that promise now, because we got so close, and you can taste the World Series, but obviously it was our team's issues that cost us a chance to win it. But you got to try to finish what you started. If you're going to try to sell Juan Soto on that, you better keep your goddamn promise and bring these guys in to help us win a World Series, not just this year, but in future seasons as well, because the team would be absolutely loaded with these additions that we're talking about making, and it can win you multiple championships, especially if Juan Soto's here for the rest of his career.
It's not even Monday morning quarterback. Rob, you wanted Edman. I wanted Jack Flaherty, and I wanted one of the elite bullpen arms like Estevez. And then there was also another high-end arm that went to the Dodgers as well. Out of the bullpen, he was awesome. Shut us down. It's not even Monday morning quarterback. We were campaigning for these guys because it didn't make any sense to have Aaron Judge having the year that he's having and Juan Soto having the year that he's having, and you're only guaranteed Juan Soto for 1 year. Not to go all in at the trade deadline made absolutely no sense. They dipped their toes in the water and were like, "Oh, we'll take Jazz. Jazz is enough." And it's not enough. Not with the holes that were all over our roster. And it got shown up in October. It got shown up in the World Series. And we were lucky to make the World Series. Soto and Big G got us to the World Series. Almost single-handedly. And unfortunately, the Dodgers were just like, well, let's just put the ball in play on these guys because these guys are jokers out there. So they did, and we lost. So a lot of that is on Brian Cashman. He should have been able to, and a lot of those deals were more than affordable too. They had more than enough to make those deals. It's not like you were giving up your entire farm system.
It cost them nothing to get Kopech and Edman.
Yeah, that's it.
It was a 3-team trade, and they gave up nothing. They didn't really give up that much for Flaherty. So, like, 3 players that all went to the Dodgers, or 3 players that we were talking about pre-deadline that the Yankees should target. And I give a lot of credit to Sierra because she was talking about Kopech before anybody else. He's like, this guy with a change of scenery can be really good. He throws gas, and we can use that. He was fan-freaking-tastic for the Dodgers post-trade. He had like an ERA below 1 for a while. It was unbelievable. And it's just, those are moves that were affordable on top of Jazz. And what bothered me is right after that Jazz trade, it's like, oh, the Yankees are working on something else. They're trying to get Fairbanks and Diaz or maybe Paredes, and nothing happened. And yeah, I don't want to keep going back in time and complaining about it, but it's the fact that we're still talking about it to this day. Additions that should have been made in July or August 1st we still have to make these trades or make these moves in November because we're still looking for those upgrades. But hopefully they get their heads out of their asses and do it, because they know with Juan Soto back, assuming he is back, this team is ready and loaded to go back to the World Series, but this time you got to win it. You can't keep getting there and losing it. Dodgers fans suffered through that themselves. They kept getting close and close and kept losing until 2020 and now this year. You got to win it. If you get back, you got to win it, and Yankees fans are going to accept nothing less. They're not going to be like, it's okay, you got there. You got to go win the damn thing now. But with Juan Soto, you can absolutely go back and win it. You just have to make the necessary additions, and they have the chance to do that this offseason. They can have that budgetary limit. If they don't want to go over 301, fine. I don't argue with that. You shouldn't need a $301 million payroll, but you can still make these additions and get under that threshold. It's possible. Go do it.
With a bit of creativity, and they refuse to show any creativity. It's as I've always talked about. philosophy. Whatever your philosophy is, you have to go all in 100% on that philosophy. So when they acquired Juan Soto, you guys can go back to our original podcast when we were talking about acquiring Juan Soto. We said that was the Yankees choosing their philosophy. Their direction for that season is going all in for a championship.
Yeah.
But they didn't do it. They tipped their toes in the water and backed out. Is kind of what they did. They didn't want to swim with the sharks, and that's why they didn't get to the final destination. And that's why the Dodgers did, because the Dodgers were very consistent from the very first minute of that offseason. We are going all in. So they got Yamamoto, they got Ohtani, and then they got in the deadline they got Kopech, and then they got Edman, and then they went all in on fixing all their holes in order to win a championship. The Yankees dip their toes. And I'm sorry, you can't do that. You make a decision, one way or the other. Are we going all in? All right, well, we're going all in. That means we're going to have to sacrifice some pieces that maybe we don't want to get rid of for the greater good, which is to win a World Series. They didn't do it. And now, as Rob pointed out, we've got exactly the same holes as we had, whether we had to or not. It's like, I mean, it's like they didn't attack the holes that they needed. So they're still in that situation now this offseason.
And I think that's why, like, when we backtrack to the trade deadline, there was an urgency needed because there were obvious holes that needed to be filled. That, to your phrase, Donald, they just dipped their toes in the water on a couple of players, but never really pulled the trigger, except for Jazz. But there was still so much more that needed to be done, and now we're seeing the aftermath of their lack of urgency. Now you got to the World Series. Now you have to now you have to finish what you started. You have to make sure that you fill the holes with players that are going to be able to get you over that plateau and that big mountain of the Dodgers, because the Dodgers are going to be back. I mean, they're set for a couple of years now.
So are the Phillies.
So really, a lot of teams in the NL. The NL is a tough division. So I don't take any of those teams lightly. Maybe the Marlins, but any team can win. We've seen the Marlins, have a good run. They have but the Yankees this year. That's why, like with Soto, getting a legitimate, really securing up the infield. One more starter, two bullpen pieces. Like, this can't be Soto or nobody. It's they can't get Soto and then be like, all right, we're exhausted, we're ready to go. They've exhausted their budget. They have to throw their budget in the window, out the window. I'm not afraid of going over the 301 mark. I want a World Series caliber team. The Yankees have plenty of money to do it. As much as it pisses me off that we have to share our revenue with other teams that don't give a shit, that's not my problem anymore. My problem is I have a team that is not. They're only building 95% of the house, thinking that that's enough. Well,
that's a good analogy.
If the house isn't finished being built, it's not habitable. They have to finish what they started and get this team to win a World Series now.
So, for those in the chat wondering about our headline about Soto's deadline, briefly, it looks like we're going to find out about Juan Soto at the winter meetings between December 9th and December 12th. Yep. That is what it looks like, according to Bob Klapisch. So, contrary to a lot of the rumors that were going around on X, the Yankees meeting with Soto was fine. It was an encouraging meeting. There was you've seen some reports from stupid, erroneous sources that it didn't go well or whatever. Bullshit. It's impossible for it not to go well. You're talking to one of the best free agents in the history of the game, right? So I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to be like, no, we're not interested, thanks. So yeah, it went well. It was an encouraging meeting. So according to Clappish, Yankees came away from the meeting with Soto on Monday feeling positive about their chances of signing the slugger to a long-term contract, according to a person with knowledge of the situation. And that's really as far as it is going to go. But I mean, at the end of the day, there was no money discussed, and I don't believe there was money discussed in the other meetings either. I don't believe money was discussed with the Mets. So again, it looks like that was an erroneous source.
I told you
that
so.
Rob did say. I don't think money was discussed. He's due to meet the Phillies again. They're one of my dark horses for this. They are. I think they're actually. I think they could be ahead of the Blue Jays. But this again goes to John Heyman saying the Yankees are a distant third behind the Mets and the Blue Jays currently, as of it stands. Give me a break, man. You don't know shit. You don't know shit, bro. Your best buddy is Scott Boras, right? Boras is probably telling you it's good for business if you keep the Yankees away from it, right? So it's really important that we all take a step back because, I mean, I'm sorry, I want Soto desperately, right? He's my guy, right? I've said it all along. I think he's better than Aaron Judge. And he's certainly more important because he actually hits in October. We have to bring back Juan Soto. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So I'm checking X all the frickin' time. But at the end of the day, we're not gonna know shit until about December, I would say. Until he has a second meeting with the Mets and the Yanks and the other teams like the Phillies and the Jays, heck, maybe even the Dodgers, we're not going to really know. And I also want to call out Michael Kay, the voice of the Yankees. He's talking about as if Juan Soto's already signed for the Mets. Yeah. He's like, oh, we're done. There's no way we're going in these waters. We can't do it. We can't do it. It's gone. It's done. I watched it. I watched it, a 20-minute segment, and he was talking as if Soto was already gone. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing here? You don't know that. You don't know he's already gone. Well, okay, maybe the Yankees don't match the Mets offer, but as long as they are within touching distance of the offer, I think Soto will give the edge to the Yankees. It's really up to the Yankees to step up. If they don't step up, then that's on them, and they'll regret it for a long time. But I can't say that the Yankees aren't going to go all in on him yet. I think Hal Steinbrenner will. That's just my opinion. So I don't think Michael Kay knows.
Michael Kay has been doing this every offseason where he goes on a tangent just to get his big-ass head out in the spotlight again. I don't listen to a single thing he has to say. You would think that the guy who does the freaking play-by-play for the Yankees would have some sort of information, but he doesn't. Carlos Baega, yeah, he's absolute known BSer. I would not listen to a single thing he says. Don't listen to every source you read on the internet, guys. Here's a PSA. This time of year, you listen to maybe one or two guys. That's Jeff Passan and Ken Rosenthal. And if you want to trust someone that's outside of the realm of like popularity, there are some great people that are in this community that have some sources. Pete's been right about a lot of stuff. So if there's some people you want to listen to, check in with Pete, see if he knows anything. But other than that, do not believe everything you see on the internet because there's going to be a lot of lies out there. They're going to be headlines that say Yankees trade blah blah blah, and it's just a trade suggestion. So please don't fall for it. Check the verified. Now everybody's verified now, so you have to make sure it's the right person that's putting these reports out there. Don't get fooled. Don't listen to somebody from the Pat McAfee show saying the Yankees got Yamamoto. Just please, until you see it from an official source that's actually trusted, don't believe everything you read. This is the time of year where everything gets thrown out there just to get clicks and people want engagement. So he's got an 8 head, more like a 12 head. That guy's head is astronomically big, and he knows it because his ego grows. It grows his head every year. But screw Michael Kay. He's never right, usually, about these things. Just let it play out, like Donald said. We're not going to know anything until he signs, and it's not going to be until the meetings at best. So we're looking at least another 2-3 weeks. There's going to be a lot of BS There's going to be a lot of repeating from John Heyman, who's got some vendetta against the Yankees lately. This is clearly just Boris propaganda. There's no way the Blue Jays have the upper hand over the Yankees right now. I'm sorry.
Not with that Canada tax.
There's no way. So that is clearly Heyman working for Boris. We all know he's under Boris's payroll, and he's just trying to. Everything is kind of pointing to the Yankees being the favorites, right? Everything's pointing to Hal and the Yankees being the favorites here. He's going and meeting with the Dodgers, who just beat the Yankees. He met with the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, Yankee rivals. He's meeting with the Mets, obviously, the Yankees crosstown rival. Everything's pointing to the Yankees being the favorite, and now the reports that they're all of a sudden they're third after a great meeting. Of course, the meeting, like you said, every meeting goes well. I've never heard a report that says the meeting sucked. Juan Soto stormed out and said, "Screw you guys." This never happened. So of course the meeting went well. Just please, PSA, proofread. Go over it 3 separate times each account just to make sure there's actually a verified source saying the things, and you'll be a lot happier. Maybe stay off the fucking internet for a little while because you're going to help yourself breathe and not panic. If anything breaks, we'll have it for you. Pete will have it for you. There's a ton of content creators that'll have the news for you. Don't believe clickbait titles also because people are still trying to generate views. But if something happens, you will see it and you will know it's real because it'll be all over the place. Don't believe every X account that says ML, like the king source apparently knows everything, right? Get out of here. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. And if something breaks, we'll have it for you. And you'll see it from Jeff Passan. That's the only guy I might trust nowadays. Really. Because everybody else is just bad.
I mean, absolutely. Also, I mean, Kay is such a contradiction because all he does is attack the fan base for being fans, right? Calling us all lunatics and mouth breathers and all that. Yet he's actually acting like the biggest fan of all of us. In fact, if anything, the fans are being a bit more level-headed about this. Michael Kay's losing his freaking mind at the prospect of Soto meeting with the Mets. He said last week that the Yankees shouldn't even meet him. Hello? Like, well, I mean, that's an embarrassment because we, as a podcast, said he absolutely should take that meeting. We Yankees should absolutely take that meeting, and he should have every right to meet whoever he wants to meet. So he's acting like a bigger fan than all of us. So that's the great irony of all this. At the end of the day, the Yankees have to go and convince. He's a free agent. He's no longer contractually obliged to be a Yankee. He is a free agent. So the Yankees must go and treat him like you want to marry him, like they want to marry a girl. They got to go and make that work. Go fly over there and wine and dine and show that the Yankees are the team to be for the next 10, 15 years. They have to. They absolutely have to. If you don't, then he's going to go to the Mets. Well, you want that? I don't want to see him wearing a Mets uniform for the next 15 years. I don't know about you guys. I won't be able to handle it. So the Yankees have to go all in. So, yeah, absolutely proofread and trust that Scott Boras wants a lot of these sources to come out that the Yankees are struggling in the negotiations. He wants that to come out. A lot of it is for financial reasons.
Yeah, don't listen to the radio, the media, the TV, all that, because they're looking for more clickbait than some of these YouTube channels are. Like, we're the ones that actually, like you guys were saying, we're the ones that are actually level-headed in this whole process. It's like...
Well, Tess, you listen to the radio a lot, and you so
no, I'm not taking it as gospel. It's just something to listen to while I'm at work, But I do hear a lot of the whining and the complaining and the boasting from other fan bases. We have the upper hand. No, we have the upper hand. And then the stupid thing about Cohen coming out. Well, I'm going to pay $50 million more than any offer that comes out. Okay, well, if I'm Cashman, if I'm Hal, I'm calling his bluff. Like, all right, you keep dipping into your piggy bank. We'll force you. If you're going to go that hard, we'll keep negotiating. So you're paying $1 billion for the guy, and then what are you going to do? You still have a whole roster to fill. It's the exaggerations that go on in the off season. It's very entertaining, but it could also be very frustrating at the same time.
That's a perfect example of why exactly, Stevie. But that's a perfect example of why really nobody actually
I
knows.
forgot about the flight.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
was on a plane to
we'll have,
Toronto.
right. We'll have a better idea the first week of December. And
Yep.
I think we will know by December 9th, maybe December 10th. I think that's probably when we'll find out what's exactly going to happen. But over the next week or so, there's going to be a lot of misinformation. There's going to be a whole lot of, it's looking good for the Yankees. No, it's actually looking good for the Phillies. And there's going to be a lot of stuff like that. And then we'll have to wait and see. Also, let's be honest here. Judge almost signed for the San Francisco Giants, and then it took Hal Steinbrenner making a last-minute call. So there's every possibility that that Soto's just about to sign for the Mets, and then Hal makes a last-minute call. Right? Whatever it takes, we don't know what's going to happen over the next little while. But I do believe that if all things being equal, and the Yankees are within striking distance of the top offer, I think he's going to go to the Yankees. I still hold on to that belief. But at the moment, it's 50-50 because I really don't know how all in the Yankees are. We hear that they're all in. We need to see how all in they are. So at the moment, I'm still very much 50-50 on it, on how it's going to go. But I still, maybe 55-45 is the Yankees. I still believe that more likely than not, it's maybe the Yankees. But again, it's very, very close. Very.
It can go to anybody. Like if the Dodgers find a way to fit that into the payroll, it'd be hard for him to say, I don't want to go to the team that just won the World Series. But there was a point, I think it was a little bit early in the chat. What's up, Chris? Good to see you. Chris has been doing some live streams a lot lately, so if you make sure you subscribe to Chris the Flash, because he's been talking a lot of positivity on his channel, some great stuff, so make sure you check him out. Why would Soto bring up what changes need to be made if he was all about the money? That was a comment that I don't know where I just saw it, but was it Art? Yeah. Well, why would Soto mention there's glaring issues if he's only about dollars or is interested in being a Yankee? He's just telling, give me a fair payment and don't dare deliver a bad trade deadline with me. I mean, he wouldn't bring up these issues unless there was a reason he wanted to come back. He would just say, what like, obviously he's interested. He was here for a year. He said he loved it. He got along great with Aaron Judge. We talked about the historic duo that they were. So, I mean, come on. He obviously wants to be here, but he's not going to be stupid and only come here unless he gets a great, and that's true. Frank, Bernie was going to go to the Red Sox, and that would have killed me. I probably would have still been crying about it to this day. Little 10-year-old me, whatever, I don't remember what year it was, but I was probably younger than that, would have been crying my eyes out if Bernie Williams was wearing a Red Sox jersey. I don't think I
cried my eyes out when Andy Pettitte went to the Astros because the Yankees, for some reason, forgot to call him during free agency, and then they lost him and had to go and make a deal for Kevin Brown. I was literally crying when I got a text from my friend going, yeah, you lost Andy Pettitte, but you got Kevin Brown. Dude, I never got out of bed that day. I was like, it's over. So, yeah, free agency is important, man.
He wants to win. He wants money. And Tats, you're muted, so I don't know if you're trying to speak. There you go.
I was going to say that, and that's what drives us all crazy with all the media shit. It's like, listen, take it in for the entertainment factor of it. Don't take it in as this is, this is not gospel. Wait until you guys all. We're not new to this, right? You guys in the chat, anybody watching, listening, we're not new to this off-season bullshit. Unless you're hearing it from, believe me, a lot of us channels, we're in the same, boat that you are. We're not going to be talking anything unless we have somebody, and we're fact checking. We have, the days off in between our shows to make sure that we're gathering as much fact as we can. So we give you guys accurate takes, names that, we're not going to start throwing out names that aren't even on the market. We may talk about somebody that we want, but if they're not even in our stratosphere, then we're not going to waste the time. We'd rather talk about some, players that are tangible to the Yankees, roster and future. Like Bob said, Passan is a tremendous, he's probably he is the guy. Jack Curry is another one. He's, he's reliable. His takes aren't set in stone, but Jack Curry's very reliable. But until I hear it from Passan, it never happened.
It won't be after the new year, Frank. That's far too late.
No, he's going to sign by the winter meet. He already put his deadline in.
Yeah, we already know it's going to be run by the winter meetings. It's if he signs after the new year, then that completely screws the offseason for whatever team he signs for. So yeah, that's absolutely not true.
Yeah.
And CT Cards, real quick, guys. Hope everything goes well because I think he said he was on his way to the hospital. So I hope you're doing all right, my man. I hope you're good. Let us know, man. Just let us know how you're feeling. We hope to see you in the chat soon.
Salute.
You know, I want to throw this in and get your takes on this before we sign off. Is the fact that Soto's camp is saying that they want to have everything settled by the winter meetings. I think that's actually a very unselfish move from Soto's camp because, like we were saying, the longer these things drag out, like after the new year, pitchers and catchers are reporting we're still waiting to hear where the big superstars going. I think that's very very important to the rest of the teams that have work to do, not to be handcuffed by one free agent in Juan Soto. I think that's going to gain him a lot of points throughout the around the sport. What do you guys think?
Well, it would be a massive contradiction for Juan Soto to ask about making sure that there's going to be upgrades around the roster, and then him hold a team to so hold hostage until into the new year. That would make no sense at all. So he will. Then this has actually been a very efficient and credit to Soto's team. This has been a very efficient free agency, man. Each day he's meeting a new team. There's no messing around. He meets the Yankees, met the Mets, he's met the Dodgers, he's met the Phillies, Blue Jays, Red Sox. It's all been very efficient day. And then we'll have a second meeting after this next batch. There'll be a second meeting, and then you'll make a decision. So it's not going to go much into Christmas at all. I really don't believe it. I think he wants this thing tied up by second week of December at the latest.
I just wish that was the official start of the offseason because this month of hearing nonsense rumors kills me every year. I truly think they should just have like a month off after the season ends, and then the first week of December is like exclusive rights, and you can have a tampering period, a legal tampering period like NBA and NFL do, and then once it starts, you can just have this frenzy of signings. That would bring so much more excitement. That's why everybody looks forward to the NFL free agency and NBA free agency because things happen like left and right. You're refreshing Twitter. Oh, Saquon signed with the Eagles, and the Giants had to go get this guy to replace him. And it's just like constant stuff. Oh, the trade rumors. The Giants got Brian Burns. The NBA, it's like who's signing Kawhi that year? The Nets got KD and Kyrie. And they got DeAndre Jordan. The Knicks got this guy. Blah blah. And it's just constant movement. With baseball, it's like, well, Kyle Hendricks signed.
No, I think that they do. That I think that would be something that would definitely improve the off season for baseball. Is that month off?
I said it all
Let
along.
the first month of the game be, the off season. Let that be about the qualifying offer guys. You're allowed to. You can work on guys in house. You get a whole month to retain your own players. And then at the winter meetings, that means that any owner or GM could talk to any player. We've talked over the years about a variety of ways that baseball can enhance its off season if you have to take any of our advice. But
no, I quite like a non-waiver trade deadline for spring training. You can make waiver trades from that point on, but I think all major moves should be tied up by spring training. I think it would be for the betterment of the players so they know exactly where they're going. But again, it's just my opinion. I just think it would be much more beneficial for baseball if they had these things. But it's a different situation because there isn't a cap and there isn't a salary floor, salary cap. There isn't any of that stuff. So I understand that the Players Association are very much in control of these things and they don't want that to happen. They absolutely do not want that to happen. But then you could just look at the last offseason and say, did it really help your clients? I'm sorry, it didn't. Montgomery went from one of the best pitchers on the market to having a horrible year, and a lot of it was because he was signed far too late. Same thing with Blake Snell. He went from Cy Young to having a horrible first half of the year because he was signed too late. So I do think that there should be some kind of a deadline, and it would be really beneficial.
And just real quick, we do appreciate Ken. We appreciate you and your generosity. And Raziel, yeah, Ken's handing out memberships like it's Christmas morning. There's so much to be fixed with MLB. We go through the same thing every freaking off season, but I do think that
50 in the chat. Let's go. Hit the like button, everybody.
Yep, but we will be getting more into the off season. Do appreciate everybody that did spend their Wednesday with us. We appreciate every single one of you. So you all know how it goes. Hit that sub button, hit that like button, share this out with your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. This is the Pinstripe Chronicles, where fans become family and wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.
Brad, thank you for gifting a Pinstripe Chronicles podcast membership. Thank you so much, Brad. Have a great day. Good luck, CT Cards, and salute to all our membership dudes and dudesses.
We will see you Friday.